The galactic tribunal chamber stretched endlessly upward, its crystalline walls pulsing with the cold light of 1,000 distant stars. 12 beings from across the galaxy sat in judgment, their forms as varied as the worlds they represented. The Zephyrian judge's metallic tentacles clicked against his bench in rhythmic deliberation, while the Vorthak representative's multiple eyes glowed with ancient wisdom. At the center of their curved formation, the Hegemony's Enforcer unit stood guard, hulking creatures of biomechanical perfection. In the dock below, a trembling figure cowered. Kes-9 of the Mindari species had committed the unthinkable, the destruction of an entire star system's communication network during a moment of panic. 3 billion souls had been cut off from the galactic community for 17 standard cycles. Ships had been lost. Trade had collapsed. Lives had been forfeit. "The evidence is conclusive," announced Judge Vexithera, her crystalline voice echoing through the chamber. The defendant's actions, though born of fear, resulted in catastrophic loss of life and commerce. The penalty for such disruption of galactic harmony is clear. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the assembled judges. The Zephyrian's tentacles ceased their clicking. The Vorthak's eyes dimmed with solemn acceptance. Even the Hegemony's biomechanical enforcers stepped forward, their weapons charging with lethal energy. "Death," proclaimed the eldest judge, a being so ancient that stardust literally fell from his robes. "By the laws written in the Cosmic Codex, witnessed by 1,000 civilizations, the defendant shall be—" Wait. The single word cut through the ceremonial pronouncement like a plasma blade through silk. Every head, eye, and sensory organ in the chamber turned toward the source. In the observer's gallery, a lone figure stood, human, male, unremarkable by galactic standards, no chitinous armor, no energy manipulation abilities, no cybernetic enhancements, just flesh and bone wrapped in simple clothing. Judge Vexithera's form shimmered with indignation. "Observer species human designation Marcus Chen, you have no standing in these proceedings. Your kind has been granted observer status only. Speak again and face contempt charges." Marcus stepped down from the gallery, his footsteps echoing in the sudden silence. The Hegemony enforcers swiveled toward him, weapons tracking his movement, but they held their fire. Even they were curious about what this primitive species might say. "Honorable judges," Marcus began, his voice steady despite the cosmic weight of attention upon him, "I invoke the right of compassionate discourse, granted to all sapient beings under Article 7 of the Galactic Charter." The ancient judge's stardust robes rustled. "That article has not been invoked in 47 cycles. Most species have forgotten it exists." "But it does exist," Marcus replied, walking slowly toward the center of the chamber. "And before you pass your final judgment, I ask that you hear something my species learned long ago." The Zephyrian judge's tentacles resumed their clicking, faster now. What could a species barely 50 cycles into space travel possibly offer this tribunal? Marcus stopped beside the cowering defendant. Kes-9 looked up at him with large, terrified eyes that reflected the chamber's starlight like pools of liquid fear. The human knelt beside the alien, placing a gentle hand on what might have been a shoulder. "We learned about mercy," he said simply. Scoffs and dismissive sounds echoed from several judges. The Vorthak representative spoke, her multiple voices harmonizing in disdain. "Mercy is weakness. Justice is absolute. The cosmic order demands—" "The cosmic order," Marcus interrupted, "is not served by perpetuating cycles of fear and punishment. Look at him," he gestured to Kes-9. "Look at what your absolute justice has created." The judges looked. They saw a being broken not just by fear of death, but by the crushing weight of guilt. Kes-9's entire form trembled with the knowledge of what his moment of panic had cost. His species' unique empathic abilities meant he could feel the echo of every life affected by his actions. "He is already punished beyond what any external sentence could achieve," Marcus continued. "His own conscience tortures him more completely than any execution ever could. But there is something more powerful than justice, something that can heal what punishment cannot touch." Judge Vexithera's crystalline form pulsed with skepticism. "And what is this miraculous force your juvenile species claims to understand?" Marcus stood, his hand still resting protectively on Kes-9's shoulder. "Redemption. The chance to make amends, to transform catastrophe into something meaningful." "Impossible," declared the Hegemony's primary enforcer, its mechanical voice grinding like gears. "The damage is done. The dead cannot be restored." "No," Marcus agreed, "they cannot. But the living can be saved. Kes-9's people, the Mindari, are natural engineers of quantum communication systems. Instead of executing him, give him the chance to spend his remaining years building better, more resilient networks. Let him prevent future disasters. Let his guilt become purpose." The chamber fell silent except for the soft humming of the crystalline walls. The judges exchanged glances, their various forms of communication creating a subtle symphony of consideration. The ancient judge leaned forward, stardust cascading from his robes like a gentle rainfall. "And if he fails? If he causes more harm?" Marcus met the ancient being's gaze without flinching. "Then you execute him then. But if he succeeds, if his work saves even one life, wouldn't that honor the dead better than adding one more body to their number?" Kes-9 looked up at the human with something approaching wonder. In his native language, he whispered, "Why do you speak for me? I am nothing to your species." Marcus smiled, the expression somehow visible to beings who had no concept of facial expressions. "Because mercy isn't something you give to those who deserve it. It's something you give because giving it makes you more than what you were." The judges deliberated in their various ways, the Zephyrian's tentacles creating complex patterns, the Vorthak's eyes shifting through spectrums of light, the crystalline beings harmonizing in frequencies beyond normal hearing. Finally, the ancient judge spoke. "By a vote of 7-5, this tribunal chooses mercy. Kes-9 of the Mindari, you are sentenced to life in service to the galactic community. Your skills will be used to prevent future communication disasters. Should you accept this burden willingly, your execution is stayed." Kes-9 collapsed in relief, his form shuddering with emotion. Through tears that sparkled like liquid starlight, he looked up at Marcus. I accept gladly." As the tribunal dissolved and the various species began to depart, Judge Vexithara approached the human. Her crystalline voice carried new tones, uncertainty, perhaps even humility. "Human Marcus Chen," she said, "your species speaks of concepts unknown to most of the galaxy. Perhaps we have been too hasty in our dismissal of your kind." Marcus nodded respectfully. "We're all still learning, Your Honor. The galaxy's a big place, with room for many kinds of wisdom." Years later, when the Kes-9 communication protocols prevented 17 separate system-wide disasters, saving countless lives, the galaxy would remember the day a young species taught ancient judges that sometimes the greatest strength lies not in the sword, but in staying the hand that wields it. And in the deepest archives of the Galactic Tribunal, a new precedent was recorded: the human intervention, a case study in the radical application of mercy that had transformed justice itself. The galaxy had learned something new that day, something dangerous and beautiful and utterly human, that redemption was not just possible but powerful beyond measure.